Hi everyone, this is Michelle here again with birthuhura. Here at birthuhura, I am a full spectrum plant-based holistic doula and an advocate for all things safe, natural, and effective. Here on this channel, we discuss all things pregnancy, birth, and womb health related. So if you guys like the content, you love what you hear on the channel, please be sure to subscribe. Today's topic is going to be about the pelvic floor. And this is an important topic because I have a lot of women ask me about, like, why do I pee on myself after birth, or why can't I seem to hold my bladder if I have to cough, if I have to sneeze. And there's a whole bunch of other things that can come from pelvic floor dysfunction, but we're just going to talk about the pelvic floor in general. So the pelvic floor is made up and consists of a group of muscles that sit below the bowel, the uterus, the vagina, and it's in between, like, your tailbone and your pubic bone. And it's basically a bunch of muscles and ligaments that keep everything in place. And if these muscles weaken, if these muscles are overstretched, or if they are not tended to right away or properly, they will lax, and then your bladder will fall, and all of these different things will happen. And you can have prolapses, you can have weak bowels, you can have all of these different things go wrong. The inability to have an orgasm, weak sexual sensations and things like that. So what we want to do during our pregnancies to help with this is wear proper shoes. We don't want to wear flat shoes. We want to have something to support our arches. We don't want to wear clothes that are too snug or that bind us too much in our pelvis area. You want to wear flowy, comfortable, nice, loose fitting attire, clothing. You want to address your posture. You don't want to be like slouched over, or like, you want to have a good posture during pregnancy. And I know sometimes that's difficult because you're growing a human and you're heavy and it's like sitting there in the pelvis and things like that, but they have like like gentle wraps and things that you can use to kind of like hold yourself up, hold the baby up, and just like care for your posture. You want to breathe properly. You want to keep everything right in the core. You want to make sure your breathing is good. Obviously you want to drink a lot of water, a sufficient amount of water, not a lot. You don't want to overhydrate, but you want to make sure you're lubricating those muscles, and not having them be dehydrated. Yoga is a great practice, even if it's soft, gentle, beginner's yoga. You don't have to do anything crazy, anything advanced, but if you want to do some yoga to keep you flexible, keep your strength, keep your core engaged. You don't want to certain foods you don't want to eat, just like greasy, over processed food. You don't want to be eating any of that stuff because that's not going to be good to yourselves. But you definitely want to keep those things in mind. Now, after you have the baby, you definitely want to get your diastasis recti, or recti, however people want to pronounce it. You want to get that checked, because sometimes, I remember when I had my first two, they didn't check me, but then my third child, when I did have a midwife and I went and birthed my child in the birth center and everything like that, they actually took the initiative to check my diastasis recti, and I had about 3 fingers. So they'll check, you'll do like a little crunch, and then they'll like put their fingers in between the muscles in your abdomen, and they'll check that. They'll press on the pubic bone to see like if you have some kind of prolapse or something like that. But if you find yourself not being able to hold your urine, if you are um, constipated, or if you have loose stools, if you're sneezing, you can't clamp down, that is because your pelvic floor muscles have become too weak. And there are certain exercises, and I'll probably do another video to kind of like reel in on those exercises, but there's exercises that you can do that can help the pelvic floor. You want to bind your belly. This is a indigenous and traditional practice that a lot of us do not do, but we want to get into the practice of belly binding. It is a really great practice, and I'll do an actual separate video also on this to actually talk about how the benefits and how to do, and maybe I'll even do a tutorial. But you want to get into belly binding. You want to get into looking up good, soft, gentle exercises, because a lot of people will do things like planks or crunches or things that are very vigorous, and you don't want to do vigorous exercises when you have a pelvic floor problem. You want to do gentle and controlled and soft movements, but repetitively, so that your muscles come back together in the abdomen, but also come forward, come up, and pull everything back up. If you're doing something really vigorous and really strong, you're just shortening the muscles and you're like pulling everything tight. And you don't want to do that. We want to bring everything back together, right? So we want to make sure we're doing the proper exercises for that. Again, staying hydrated so that your muscles are lubricated and can function and move freely. You might want to hold off on sex until and I know some people say that sex can help, but if you're not in the proper positions, and you're not like really paying attention and really concentrating on those muscles during sex, then it's not really going to work. And a lot of times I tell people it's probably best to hold off on sex, because when you're in the act of sex, right, and you're attracted to your partner and your partner's attracted to you, and the euphoria is flowing, and the sensations, and your sexuality, everything is happening, you're not really mentally worried about the pelvic floor. So you're kind of like, you're into it, and you're doing wild things, and that's not the goal. So we definitely want to kind of hold off on sex for that healing process. And you don't want to get right back into the swing of things. I often see people have children and just pop right back out into the open, and they're just like, wait, did you have a baby 2 days ago? Why are you out and about at a cookout at the market? You should be resting. You know what I mean? Gravity is really everything. So you definitely should be resting. Applying heat, applying warm compresses, all of that good stuff. But you definitely want to care for your pelvic floor after and before having a child, because that's what's going to make sure you have optimal healing. Like, a lot of people will wait until after the child but didn't pay attention to anything during the pregnancy. You definitely can do things to help keep the pelvic floor strong. Also, positioning during birth. If you are on your back in labor for a long time, struggling to push and all of these different things, you're doing a lot more damage to the pelvic floor than you necessarily have to. Remember, I spoke about this before, but pushing is not necessary in labor if you wait the optimal time and you allow your body to get to the point of fetal ejection reflex. You should be in an upright position when you birth your baby and not laying down, not on your back. It is counterproductive when you're doing that. So that's also something to think about when considering your pelvic floor. But your pelvic floor is responsible for that tinkling, that peeing on yourself, that inability to get your, move your bowels, or or too many loose bowels, or sometimes we have a child and then our sex drive doesn't come back for a long time. And sometimes that could be due to hormones, but sometimes that could be due to pelvic floor dysfunction because those muscles are so weak and the blood flow is not sufficient, and all of these things matter. So that's pretty much my take on the pelvic floor. I hope this was helpful. I'm definitely going to do another video about the actual exercises that you can do. And I will do a video on belly binding as well, so that people can, like, see exactly how you can address these things. But yeah, that's pretty much my my take on it, and I hope this was useful. I hope this was helpful. If you have a topic that I have not talked about that you would like to hear me talk about, please reach out to us at birthuhura@gmail.com, or you can always drop comments under the videos. Again, I'm Michelle. I'm a full spectrum holistic doula with birthuhura. If you guys have anything, any comments, any concerns, any questions, please be sure to share that with us. And anything that you did for your pelvic floor that may help another woman, help another family, please share that as well. I'll see you guys for the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace and pregnancy dust.